Good morning and welcome back to the Fantasy Legion. You have to apologise about the attire. Listen, we're in quarantine here. I'm telling you, we can't get much here in Daventry, sunny Daventry, so we are really up against it. I've got the Fantasy Legion background here, running in the background, and I want to talk to you today about Todd Gurley. Now, we promised to do this the other day, and I just wanted to get into it fairly quickly, actually, about him last year. Now, we mentioned in our previous video and what we talked about here on the channel last year that Todd Gurley was clearly going into a decline. Now, last year, really what bailed him out was his fantasy touchdown production numbers, which is really what bailed him out. Because on paper, 180 fantasy points, 188 is very serviceable. It's perfectly okay. It's good for a running back too. And, you know, we doff our hat to him because he didn't really bust. But I have to be honest and say, you know, actually looking at the data, I'm more, I wouldn't say happier because no one wants to see a player go down. Especially, I'm a die-hard Rams fan. I don't want to see my own players falling off a cliff and seeing their skill sets diminish. But the truth is, that's exactly what's happened to Todd Gurley. And if you really examine the data from last year, I think you're going to see the truth was hidden behind the touchdowns. Look at the first 4 years of production for Todd Gurley. Forget last year for a minute. And that includes, of course, his rookie season. And Todd Gurley had 78.4 yards per game on average. Very decent indeed, actually. Normally, for high-caliber running backs in the NFL, when you break down the game data over their careers, you're looking for anything above about 80 yards, roughly. So perfectly in line for a great career. That's really what it hinted at there. He was averaging 4.4 yards per carry. Again, very, very nice number for it. Anything really above that sort of range, about that range or more, and it's fantastic for a coordinator. So you've got a high caliber running back here. He was also got good receiving yards in his first 4 years, 32.8 per game, which again is perfectly fine, very serviceable, very good. And then touches per game, he was averaging 21.2 a game, which is quite amazing because anything above sort of 18 plus, and you're dealing with a high-end running back one here. But last year, there was a sea change, and there was a change, and it was subtle, actually. Last year, when you put all the numbers together, it turned out to be this, 57.1 yards per game. I knew he was struggling, but I didn't realise it was this serious. 57.1, that's a loss of 21 yards a game over 16 games. That's massive. You could attribute it to touches, but he wasn't very efficient with those touches because he was averaging 3.8 yards per touch, per carry. And that's concerning, massively concerning. Now we're dipping into the area where that already tells you there's a breakdown, there's a problem. That's not NFL caliber. And this is the real telling bit because he was a three-down back. The receiving yards per game dropped to 13.8. 13.8 from 32.5. It's almost a complete 20-yard reduction. And then the touches. You can't attribute it all down to lack of touches. He nearly was averaging 17 touches a game, 16.9. So the proof of the pudding is there to be seen in Todd Gurley for what Atlanta are actually going to get. So I think what we need to really do is end on this video is say this. If you're drafting Todd Gurley for this season, whether that be redrafted dynasty or even trading for him, you need to be buyer beware. You need to be really aware of what you're actually getting here. And I think you have to, for sensibleness, get the backup. At the moment, that appears to be, it's actually difficult to say for sure who it's going to be because we haven't gone through the NFL draft. And I think until we do, it'd be foolish to say who it is. But watch out for whoever the backup there in Atlanta is. And that's the player that I would suggest we should all be targeting going into this season, if we're honest. If we're brutally honest. I'm not trying to defend my bold prediction from last year because clearly I got it wrong. But I'm just trying to be honest and say, look, Todd Gurley, the proof is in the pudding. You were lucky last year because the touchdown numbers seriously bailed you out. And if it wasn't for those, you certainly wouldn't have been serviceable enough. But you did, so well done. But Atlanta now have built themselves potentially a lemon. And we'll have to see how it all plays out for them. And maybe again he goes on and surprises us once again. And he achieves. He's amazing when the chips are down. Maybe he's just somebody who plays better when everybody doubts him. Sometimes that happens. But I think, as I say, the writing's on the wall. We won't continue to belittle the point. Anyway, thanks for watching. We've been the Fantasy Legion. We'll see you again on the next one. Take care of yourselves and stay safe out there. Bye for now.